Hi Ram. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतम् गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Last talk, how we concluded in the previous month or so, or couple of months, combining the Shiva Rahasya, the light, and lightening as Brahman, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad session, there were subsequent posts on lightening as Brahman, where he said Brahman, how mystically he created, in the same way, mystically, as though he projects himself and then he illumines the mumukshu sadhaka at the penultimate stage, and in that illumination, avidya is removed. And then he went on to say in the last talk, he said, if it is difficult to contemplate or meditate on how the formless and attributeless, thoughtless Brahman would project outside us and then illumine us, he pointed out to Swami and said, here is the Brahman in name and form, who knows each movement of bhakta, his bhaktas. So, satisfied with the mumukshatva and the bhakti of the bhakta, he, the Brahman, blesses with his abhayahasta mudra, and from the mudra, as though mystically the light gets splashed on the sadhaka, and at once the avidya is removed and he shines as the Shiva Rahasya supernal light. And then from Parthi, and then subsequently he poured. For all these things to happen, avidya has to be there. He said to contemplate and meditate on a state, on that state, ultimate state where avidya never ever existed at all. So all those previous spores were taken back as usual by Acharya. You ever exist as wholesome, holy, that light. So there was never a time when that light was clouded by avidya. It is just like wondering if Brahman would ever think that there was a state where he was not Brahman, not possible. Na? Similarly, a Jivan Mukta, a Videha Mukta, and Avadhuta can never go back to the era where they ever had a trace of avidya, to claim now that somehow that illumination process has happened and they now exist beyond avidya, having transcended avidya, they exist as that supernal light. The light, you remember how the sages describe the descending of Shiva in the Siva Rahasya Talk 1. We now move on to the Talk 13. Verse 90. Verily, there is nothing in the three worlds save God, soul, and mind. God, soul, mind. When the mind has been stilled, soul and God, Atman and Brahman, soul and God all alone remain. When soul is no longer distracted by the mind, he sees God face to face and is lost in his infinite embrace. How does the body, made of the insentient power Maya, display the symptoms of consciousness and work as if it is sentient? Is this not astonishing? The mind travels faster than the wind. Seeing that the mind is made from the insentient power Maya, how this is possible? How it can be sentient? Question. The presence of the soul is making the senses, mind, and intellect function as if they are sentient. Go back to the Chitradeepa sessions where he explained this with the fire and the iron ball of fire. The iron ball of fire almost appears as fire only. Similarly, the insentient mind, illumined by pure consciousness, shines as if it is sentient. This is where the mistake happens in the case of normal jivas, where they take their body and mind as real. Because the mind is able to travel, the mind is able to function, the mind is able to think, the mind is able to do wonders with his thoughts. So the mind is mistaken as consciousness. DP4. And the misery begins thereafter, continues thereafter. One minute. Just a minute. But when it comes to a Jivan Mukta, divine souls, our subject cannot be the world of matter. All that causes the bondage is the mind alone. What leaves upon death? The soul. What remains? That we should call as the dead body. This means that the soul is different from the body. Moreover, since the soul is part and parcel of God, it is only upon attaining God that the soul can attain peace and happiness, which it had been eternally craving. So Shiva says here, there are only three things existing: mind, soul, and God. Once the mind is transcended, then, like it said in the Taittiriya Upanishad, the desires are at once fulfilled. Here, at once, soul merges with God. Atman merges with Brahman. What space is the same now as the universal space? So, in essence, this verse Shiva says the world or the Jiva's world is made of only three things: mind, God, and soul. Mind, soul, and God. Remove the mind. The soul merges with God at once. How easy it appears as an equation, but how many births we have to take to remove the mind, to transcend the mind, and for our soul to merge with God. Next verse. Therefore, knowledge of the Supreme alone exists. Neither the world nor its existence is real by comparison. This fact is known to enlightened ones in the heaven, whose names are established among the radiant stars. This is the state: the creation does not exist. There is no one to say that the Jagat is Mithya. This expression, Jagat Mithya, that itself prostrates and merges and dissolves into the one expression, Brahma Satya. So here, Shiva says, world's existence is unreal. So we have all along been gliding through these two expressions, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Jivo Brahma Ivanapara. In that, Upon the soul merging with God, with the mind gone, who is there within the realized self, realized seer, to ever say that the Jagat is Mithya? And there is no one to either say, let us go a step forward. There is no one to either say that Brahma Satyam. He exists as Satyam without telling that Brahma Satyam. Remember, we are gliding through the subtlest treatise ever taken by your Guru, even beyond Ashtavakra Gita. So, how much you have to be tuned to the poor so that you are able to experience as and when the expressions flow out of Swami's grace from Acharya. Next verse, 92. However, in this world, perfect knowledge lies in a shroud of ignorance, as a lump of gold is covered in dirt, and as the sun is shrouded in clouds. Those who possess not the perfect knowledge of yoga are deluded and led astray by ignorance, which is knowledge imperfect, defective, and false. Now Shiva addresses about those whose mind is alive and yet not dissolved, and yet this soul has not merged with the God because mind is active. But a question, with the vasanas accumulated over several births and still existing, with avidya and other kleshas still there, are they not pure? Are they not divine? Shiva says they are pure, but their purity, divinity is clouded due to the avarna. Avarna vikshepa, you remember? Veiling, where the curtain veiling the divine nature is their avidya, and at the macrocosm level, maya. This avarna is given through two analogies. One, like gold covered by dust, and the second, like the sun is veiled by clouds. Gold covered by dust. So when Swami addresses us as Bangaru, we are in for severe sacrifice, severe challenges, severe pains. Why? Because thinking of this analogy, gold covered by dust, unless the goldsmith takes that iron, that fire stand, and then he pours that fire into that gold apparently covered by dust, how will the dust go? So there will be fire of challenges attacking you. So here is a beautiful lesson which we learn as we go through this at a practical level. When we face the most challenges ever in our life, we go through the most difficult phase in our life. Remember Swami smiling and calling us as Bangar, because the stage has come and his words cannot go false, right? प्राण जाए पर वचन न जाए. So when he has addressed us as Bangaru, we have to shine as Bangaru. For that only he is giving us so much of challenges. The worst of challenges will attack you from left, right, center, top, bottom, from everywhere, from the entire world. Be sure you are in for all your dirt, your vasanas accumulated over several births to be removed by the goldsmith Swami. How beautiful. If one realizes this one particular lesson in its truest, most sincere, truthfully, he would welcome challenge, because that means he is nearing Swami and he is more than us. It is important for us to make Swami's words come true. Our life is immaterial, insignificant. He has called us Bangaru. His words should come true. So let the challenges come. How beautiful. All these things are not noted here in the lab. They flow. Think, think deeply. Perfect knowledge is without defect. It is subtle, free from doubts, and ever changeless. Everything else is imperfect knowledge, ajnana. The thorough realization of this is called perfect jnana, vijnana. So what all Shiva says, the perfect knowledge is without defect, pure niranjana, subtle anoraniya, free from doubts, without sankalpa vikalpa, and changeless nirvikara. Only that light which we have been meditating all through the Shiva Rahasya talks, Shiva Rahasya talk, contemplation, that light, without the quality of any light, only that light, that is the purest Atman, wholly shining forth within, only that qualifies all these description given by Shiva. Niranjana, Nirvikara, without Sankalpa Vikalpa, subtler than the subtlest. Anoraniya. You test anything in the world other than self. Put anything in the world through these four tests. Miserably, everything else will. Our super intellect, our super mind, the most advanced technologies, the science, everything, whatever, the artificial intelligence, put everything to test these four descriptions given by Shiva. Utter failure. Spirituality begins where science ends. where all logics end. '94. This, O noble ones, it is the teaching of the insight into reality, which is called excellent knowledge. It is the essence of all spiritual knowledge, teachings. The practice of yoga is a single minded concentration upon this knowledge. Verse 95. Knowledge is born of yoga, and yoga is established by means of knowledge. There is nothing that cannot be accomplished by one who is endowed with both yoga and knowledge. Verse 96, we are combining 4 verses. That which is attained by means of yoga is also attained through spiritual knowledge. Therefore, he who sees spiritual knowledge and yoga as one sees things as they really are. The last one, 97. O you foremost among the faithful, other men being attached to material lordship, become engrossed in various activities conducive to such aims, material aims. So also, those whose intellects are impaired and dull, they also become engrossed in various activities conducive to worldly knowledge. When physical life comes to an end, however, one who possesses spiritual knowledge and yoga shall attain to the great and pure lordship of heaven, which is honored by all. So here, 2 things are spoken about in all these verses. So he combined all this, yoga and knowledge. Let us go a little deeper into this. If you see yoga as the yoga at the physical level, yoga, whatever yoga classes, Raja Yoga, as you see, and then if you see knowledge as Jnana Yoga, both seem to be different approaches. But here Shiva brings a total sync between yoga and knowledge. How? Let us see. There is a subtle difference. We will start with the difference and end up in the sync. There is a subtle difference between yoga and jnana only up to the state of realization, which is explained here. There is a beautiful verse in the Yoga Vashishta making reference to the yoga and Vedanta, that is yoga and jnana. Sage Vashishta says to Rama, O Rama, there are 2 ways of conquering the mind and realizing the infinite. What are the 2 ways? They are yoga and jnana. In other words, jnana is Vedanta, Vashishta says. He defines yoga as vritti nirodha, the inhibition of the functions of the mind, and jnana as samyak avekshana, correct perception, equal vision, the perception of the common spirit in all objects of the universe, self of all. A tentative distinction between yoga and jnana is made here in the Vashishta's exposition of jnana and yoga, or yoga and Vedanta given to Rama. So, yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is defined more as a negative method and jnana as a positive method. Jnana is the affirmation of reality, whereas yoga is the withdrawal of objective consciousness. The result may be the same, but the methods are different. Ultimately, this is what happens. When you touch, it goes somewhere. 1 minute. Ultimately, after understanding this, at least that is, yoga is withdrawal of senses. Chitta vritti nirodha. That is, you are recognizing the negativities of chitta vritti born out of ahankara MBCA session. And then you are making effort to go beyond the chitta and the vritti, chitta and the ahankara. So it is removal of something, and the jnana is discovering, positive discovery of the truth within. So what we learn from here, Yoga Vashishta's lesson, first, maybe with the vasanas accumulated over several births, one cannot sit as Ramana slept, and then in the sleep he realizes. The young Ramana, it may not be possible for us to just sit in the pose of samadhi and then discover the truth within. So, you will have to go through the path of yoga, you will have to go through the process of the MBC, Chitta Vritti Nirodha. You will have to go through the process of withdrawal of senses and identifying the ahankara and the chitta and working deliberately for removing or taming the workers of the factory, the chitta and the ahankara, and letting the GM of the factory intellect take the call on actions. So yoga will lead to what? When through this process, then your actions are purified, your intellect stands pure, your chitta and vritti are tamed or made to rest. The chitta bank balance gets zero. Through this yoga, what happens? You will gain knowledge. How knowledge is attained? By the removal of avidya here. Not in that ultimate state where no avidya was there. Here, recognizing the avidya and working towards transcending the avidya. Yoga leads to knowledge. And ultimately, yoga is union, merger. So ultimately, jnana culminates in yoga at that level, not the physical yoga, the ultimate yoga. So jnana, yoga, karma, yoga, bhakti, yoga, raja, yoga. All through all these paths, what is attained? The ultimate yoga, merger with the divine. Yoga at the physical level leads to jnana. Jnana culminates in the ultimate yoga, merger. And what happens at the merger when Swami walking through that paintings and all those things exhibited in the bhajan hall in those yesteryears, whispers and enters from his room into the bhajan hall for the seeing the exhibition, saying the real happiness is within. So, with the sync of yoga and the jnana, what is ultimately realized? Brahma Ananda, real happiness is within. Now, next two, three verses are beyond the beyond. Imagine Shiva describing himself. Swami mostly does not describe himself, but then in the milestone discourses delivered on his avatarhood, which he has taken in many Samarpan Bhajan talks. And the milestone talk after curing himself of the paralysis and telling the story of the Bharatvaja, telling the story of and how he cures, and after that, telling about his avatarhood, what he really is, Shiva Shakti. Exposition of Shiva Shakti, Shiva Shakti, in that milestone pour where he cures himself. He's arrested there. Now, Shiva, imagine Shiva describing himself. And what a boon for us to even hear out all these three verses and the exposition of these three verses, which came to Acharya through source as source. I myself am the great Lord Maheshwara. When Lordship is attained through yoga, when Lordship is attained through yoga, realize that I am that great Lord Maheshwara. I am the unseen master of cosmic magic Maya, the greatest God. I am glorified in the true scriptures, the self as the self of all, and having faces in all directions. I am the perfect one who sees all things from above, the witness of all that passes. Grand declaration by Shiva. Like we say, Maha Maunam, the great silence. Mahat Sangha, the greatest Satsanga. Here he proclaims that he is Maha Ishvara, the Lord, greatest Lord of Lords. Maheshwara. He is the master who cannot be seen or known as long as one is bound by the cosmic magic Maya or as a Jiva Avidya. He is the self of all, Ribhu Gita, self of all, without all. The self light in all living and non living beings. Though only few realize this and others still roam around in the realm of darkness, avidya. Sahasra Sirsha Purushaha. Not 1,000 heads, but thousands of heads. Thousands of heads. That means infinite everywhere. That is what Shiva says. What he says here, and having faces in all directions. He sees all things from the above, self of all, yet without all, without getting into the vasanas of the world, without getting into the defects of the world. He is above all and he sees all without getting involved in all. That is how why Swami can see all of us as divine, because he sees clue from this one particular verse. He sees all of us from above. Above means not direction wise above. Above here means he sees us all as all of us beyond the crores of defects which we all have. The above is he sees us beyond our defects. He sees us as we were created by him for the first ever time. As pure. Paramahamsa Yogananda's purpose of human birth session. I created you as blemishless, perfect as me myself. Above he sees. That is how he can even create vibhuti or grant interview or give patanamaskaram or talk even to, let us not judge others, to even the most impure souls like us. Because he sees very powerful expression. He sees all of us from the above. If he starts seeing us as what we are, you can't even imagine what will happen. He may not come out for darshan only. Since we let us go a step forward, since he sees us from above, he sees us beyond all our impurities, all our defects. In that one drishti, in that one glance, Rahm Nazar Karo Sai Baba, in that Rahm Nazar, for that moment as he glides through the Sai Kulwant hall, it is as though through the magic, the power of his seeing us from the above, in that moment, all we also forget, we also rise beyond our impurities and defects. We exist as pure, blemishless, Niranjana. Has ever, he challenges, has ever any one single impure thought come to us while seated in the Kulwant hall and while Swami comes out for darshan? Not possible. Because his pure, the aura of his purity covers the entire planet. And Sai Kulwantal is a very minuscule of the planet. That aura renders us as pure, divine, blemishless. That is why, in those few seconds, few minutes, as he passes through us and that Rahm Nazar falls on us, we also are rendered pure. But with all our defects, only tragedy is that we are not able to carry forth that purity after the darshan. The vasanas grip us, the kleshas grip us. Verse 99. I hold within me all forms, flavors, fragrances, and sounds. I am free from old age and death. I have hands and feet all around. When you glide with these proclamations by Shiva, he is not telling only about himself. Be very clear in your meditation. All these things apply to you as self, as Shiva, not as Jiva. So I means we all. When a singer sings, तेरे द्वार पे मैं आऊं, मुझे शांति दो भगवान. So he is asking for that shanti for 100 of us gathered in the center. हमें शांति दो, मुझे शांति दो. मुझे शांति दो भगवान, मेरे जीवन में साथ रहो साईनाथ मेरे. मेरे जीवन, all the 100 hearts cry out, मेरे जीवन में साथ रहो, साथ साईनाथ में. Similarly, it is when he says I, it is applies to all of us. I. That is, for me, the self, I hold within me all forms, flavors, and fragrances. I as the self, not as this BMI. I as the self is I am free from old age and death. I have hands and feet all around. I can reach where birds do not fly. I am eternal soul of all things. Without hand or foot, I am swift and I can grasp. I abide in the heart of all Upanishads come together in this one verse. So many of them. I abide in the heart of all. I can see even without eyes and hear without ears. I perceive all hidden secrets from within. I am the witness of all. Holds all forms within him. Go back to the Partipur, where the creation merges within him. He reaches where birds cannot fly. That is, he is that which human mind cannot comprehend. The entire verse is Vedic declaration, the Isha Upanishad essence. To explain this one verse, an entire session may be required. I reach where birds cannot fly means I am swifter than the swiftest possible movement. Isha Upanishad verse 4. It says, that one, though motionless, is swifter than the mind. And the senses can never overtake it, for it ever goes before. Though immovable, it travels faster than those who run. By it, the all-pervading air sustains all living beings. This is the Isha Upanishad, verse 4. This verse explains the character of the Atman or self in its wholesome entirety. A finite object can be taken from one place and put in another place, but it can only occupy one space at a time, either this space or this space. The Atman, however, is present everywhere. Hence, though one may run with the greatest swiftness to overtake it, already it is there before him. In a running race, imagine when the second runner reaches the final target place, when he finds that the first runners are already reached there, then the first runner is declared as the winner. When wind or light travel from one place to any other place and reach any place, they are only second because that is runner one example. So wind, you take a second runner in this analogy. When the wind, how fast is the wind? But when wind travels from one place to another place, it can be only the second runner because wherever wind reaches, Atman is already there. That is why Shiva says, I am there where birds cannot fly, and I am swifter than the wind. Though immovable, changeless, it travels faster than those who run. It is swifter than the wind, mind, senses. Never, mind and senses can never overtake it. Recall Chinmaya's commentary in one of the Upanishad verses, which he quotes very often. When the first of the five elements, space, came, and with the space emerging, concept of time came, and the time was, say, almost about to emerge. But before even the space and the time emerged, the Purusha was already there, witnessing the emergence of space and time. Even the all pervading air must be supported by this self, since it is infinite. And as nothing can live without breathing air, all living things must draw their life from this cosmic self. One Upanishad covered, second Upanishad. Eye of the eye, ear of the ear. He does not see or hear, but through his power, our eyes, our ear, our mind, our prana, our intellect, our senses, they get the power to see, to hear, to smell, to touch. One by one, Kenopanishad description. That which cannot see, but through which all other things see. Then hearing, then smelling, everything follows. Now we are hitting the century, 100th verse, and we will end with this today. You can't imagine you have walked through 100 verses of the greatest, subtlest treatise along with Acharya in maybe 1.5 years. Can't imagine what has been this travel. And it had to appropriately start after Ashtavakra Gita was over because it starts where Ashtavakra leaves. Janaka says that nothing emanates from me now, I cannot tell anything, and he leaves. From there, Shiva takes over and the Siva Rahasya starts. If you say Koti Janma Sukrata, it is less. To even hear about the verses of Siva Rahasya, and you have not only heard 99 verses so far, you have also gone through the exposition emerging from the source Shiva only and expressed through Acharya's words. This is the most sacred journey ever possible for any human being on this earth. Trust him. 100th verse. Though I know all this, no one knows me. The seers of truth alone know me as the one unique great being. Only sages endowed with perfect sight see the true nature of the self. They see the excellent and immaculate lordship of the formless one, formless one. For only the perfect ones can see what supremely perfect is. He is the eternal knower, the supreme consciousness, Chit, which illumines all others to know everything else. Dridrishya Viveka session comes. Absolute consciousness, reflected consciousness, mirror intellect, and illumining the senses, mind. How many sessions? Plethora of sessions. How many? How many emails in the Yahoo in the beginning for the earlier sadhakas? How many Viber messages? Then how many WhatsApp messages? Then how many blogs? How many talks? Satsangs? How many? And not to forget how many Samarpan talks? 2006 to 2013. And few sparks of those talks even continuing till maybe January 25 or November 25. The last was the Hanuman talk on a Hanuman bhajan, Veera Dhira Maruti. And as bhajans end with Hanuman bhajan, his journey in southern ends with the talk on Hanuman bhajan. How matching. Okay. He is the eternal knower, the supreme consciousness, which illumines all others to know. But no one can know him like they can know any other thing in the world. He cannot be perceived or known like you know any other thing in the world. Shivanandaji Maharaj's words, you cannot jump on your own shoulders. That which has illumined your mind, your senses, your intellect. With this illumined mind and intellect, how can you see that? How can you know that? Not possible. It is not like the child coming out of the mother and the child can see mother at the worldly level. At this supreme consciousness, which has no form, no attributes, which is beyond the perception, beyond the imagination. How can you imagine that consciousness with your mind, where the mind senses, they all have got illumined through the reflection, a spark of reflection of that infinite, pure, absolute consciousness. Only the seers of truth, the realized one, can know. Here, knowing means existing as, not the knowing with respect to the world. It is the knowing means existing. Only they can exist verily as Shiva, the great being, the great Lord Maheshwara, formless, attributeless. Only perfect can know the perfect. Only a Brahma Jnani can know another Brahma Jnani. Others can have a small fraction of glimpses about the Brahma Jnani, especially when it is their Guru. But all they know of the Guru is fraction. They think they all know about entirely about their Guru. That knowing will be then not contaminated is wrong. That will be mixed up with the other knowing by the faculty with the faculty of mind intellect. Only a realized seer will know the other realized seer. They need not have to talk to each other. Since this Shiva Rahasya talk goes only to few, he can share this. He can take you back to that with the trust that few of you will not say why Acharya is talking about himself. It was a public, if it was a public talk, he would have curtailed this. Recall the his meeting with Ma Amritanandamai. Both spoke few words, both knew each other. Totally. There was nothing to be expressed and nothing to be explained. Both knew totally about each other. He was not, he did not go by the talk Amma was having at the worldly level about the doctors, about the hospital, about so many things. Nor was Amma concerned about the CEO who had gone on an official tour and had visited there, suited booted. Both eyes saw each other. Each one knew completely the other. And then few words were spoken. It is as fresh as it happened just about a couple of hours before. We end this satsang for only for this you had to go to internet. A song on the Supreme Brahman by the realized, revered seer Swami Krishnanandaji Maharaj. The title is The Supreme Brahman. It's a very big poem. He has taken only glimpses of that. The supreme object to be known, knowing which there is not NAUGST, that is nothing. There is not to know. Is that which is the being all, as also what is non-being. Each paragraph echoes what we learned today in the Shiva Rahasya. The absolute Brahma is the Brahman great Maheshwara with no beginning or an end. Know what it is in fullness now, the glory surpassing reason. With hands and feet spread everywhere, what we learned just now. With eyes and heads and mouths and ears as infinite encompassing. All worlds at once it envelops. It envelops. It is all pervading. When one beholds all variety as rooted in the absolute, then and there does one realize the widespread bliss, eternities. No sun, nor moon, nor stars, nor fire do shine before that glorious light, on reaching which the blessed souls return never to mortal life. One root cannot come back. Wonder indeed is might of mights. All might it is, Almighty called. One sees as wonder, wonder hears. As wonder speaks, who knows it well. As wonder does one hear its name, even hearing, one knows it not. For none can know it as another. It knows itself as I am I song. That Lord of Lords abides hidden in the hearts of all, revolving all, as if on machine mounted they rotate in cycle. Resort to that, the being all, with all thy feeling and thy heart. Abundant grace from it receive, and deathless peace thou shalt attain. God is the Father all caring. He is the mother, grandfather, friend, supporter. Sacred Om, the one that needs to be known every way. He is the Rik Yajur Sama, the holy lore of wisdom deep. All knowledge known and knower too is one eternal, timeless grasp. He is immanent and transcendent, within, without, and in between, as whole absorbing all the parts residing not in the whole. The pure subject is infinite. How can the object touch its core? Since objectness is shadow cast by total self in time and peace. There are some 50 verses. When Brahman, the self, which Krishnananda Maharaj is really is, when that Brahman starts pouring on itself, when that pour is Tailadhara, it is seamless, beginningless, endless, with no time space gap. And that you are Tat Tvam Asi. It is a pure, sheer joy to listen to the Shiva Rahasya course. Sheer joy. There is no concept to be learned. There is no do's and don'ts here. There is no prescription or proscription here. Nothing is left to think. It is all that light which is spoken about. With the grace of that light, through this light, to you the light. No difference in these three. He cannot express through any finite words the joy, the sheer joy which is gushing forth ever since the satsang started. If you really ask him, have you spoken anything? In all honesty, he will say, I have spoken nothing. It's all joy. Did anything spray? Did anything splash from that joy? In that joy, maybe you will know. I don't not spoken anything. It is that joy. Where there is no one to even think how this state is attained, and whether avidya was there and whether avidya was transcended, whether Brahman illumined or Satyasai illumined, or within itself it illumined, it expanded. Don't know. What all happened? Don't know. All sadhanas are taken up, not aware. Was there a pre-realization era and now a post-realization era? Not aware. As sadhakas, imagine that state, how it will be. Jai Sai Ram. Hari Om. Tat Sat. Satchit Ananda Shivaya Namah.